Hi, welcome to the very, very first story time with Miss Tina. This is a story time for adults. I'll try not to swear if you want to watch it with your children, but no guarantees. This all came about because I was a preschool teacher for years and years, and my most favorite part of the day was reading aloud to my students. I think that children's books teach you so much about yourselves, so much about the world, how to get along in the world. It teaches you about love and loss and change and motivation. So anyway, I really feel that right now we need as much of that as we can possibly get. So I think adults need to sit back and listen to nice stories and just snuggle up. So I'm going to give you a minute here to get your jammies on, get your nice little blanket, snuggle up. If you have little dogs or big dogs, get something fun in your lap. Anyway, so talk amongst yourselves. This is my friend, and does she have a name?
Dolores.
Dolores. That's the name of my cat that passed away last week. Anyway, we're at Passionworks Studio. It's a studio for people of all abilities in Athens, Ohio. And they create lots of art. And this is a Patty Mitchell doll. And I'm sure there were a lot of people that collaborated on that. I'm also wearing a Passionworks tiara, which is a collaboration between Passionworks and myself, Tina's Tiaras. But anyway, so we're all decked out in our gear. I hope you're all snuggled in and you're ready to go. The very first book I chose is one that I cry every single time I read it. So you may cry, you may scream with joy too, who knows. Anyway, it's called The Old Woman in the Wave, and it's by Shelley Jackson. So let's just start. Once upon a time, there was an old woman who lived under a wave. The wave never fell, but there was always a chance that it might. So every day, the old woman went to the door of her cottage and looked out. "Still there, wave," she bellowed. Imagine, she's living under a wave. How could she know that the wave bent low when she yelled just to hear her? The wave loved the old woman because the old woman had lived her whole life beneath it. She could see nothing good in the wave. She squinted for fear of a drop in the eye and hunched for fear of a drop down her collar. She never noticed the wave stretch its glassy body against the sun so that the light was a blue-green shout in its stomach. A blue-green shout in its stomach. Love that. She never saw the swallows wet their claws in the top of the wave and dare one another to fly under the tangled crest. "How you can stand to live under that wave, I'll never know," said the old man from down the road. "Drip, drop," said the old woman. "I was born here and I'll die here." I love this dog. In case the wave ever fell, the woman had built a little boat out of a wash tub, a table leg, and an old apron. It had a cracked shovel for a rudder and an old broom for an oar. She kept it locked in a shed, and the key swung around her neck day and night. All over her roof, the old woman had fastened umbrellas of many colors and shapes and sizes. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't keep the wave from dripping and dropping into the frying pan in the morning, plunk into her pillow at night. To make matters worse, old Bones, her dog, loved the wave. Sometimes she looked out of the cottage to see Bones, bubbles streaming from his muzzle, chasing fish in the belly of the wave. "Drip, drop," she said, "shows how much sense you have." I just love this dog. Look. Often he slunk home wet from teeth to toenails. "Wicked Bones, wicked wave," she scolded. A fish leaped from the wave and landed at her feet. She picked it up and threw it back at the wave, which swallowed it. "Wasteful," she roared. "Don't bother trying to soften me up." And she slammed the door. She's really not happy. In the morning, the light ran in liquid patterns across the walls of the old woman's cottage, and shadows of fish swam in at her window and across her blanket, waking her up. But the old woman just grumbled and turned her face to the wall. "I'll get up when I get up," she muttered. Yet for a minute later, her feet swung out of the covers and hunted for her slippers under the bed. The old woman stepped out the door. "Still there, wave," she yelled, and the wave stood tall and shook itself, splattering her with drops. "Oh, careless," she said. A fish leaped from the wave and landed wiggling in the grass at her feet. "Clumsy," she scolded the old woman, popping the fish in her apron to fry with butter in time for lunch. She was picking pebbles out of the flower bed and tossing them back on the garden path when a wanderer rapped at the gate. The stranger was young and strong and looking for work to do, so the old woman fed her on fish and sent her up to the roof to patch the umbrellas. When she was done, the stranger sat on the chimney, swinging her legs and looking up at the wave. She was whistling a strange little tune that made the old woman think of a bird flying in and out of a waterfall. "Oh, don't waste your time on that wave," the old woman called up sharply. That wave could take someone a long way if someone wanted to go," said the wanderer, hopping off the chimney. "Oh, you're welcome to it," said the old woman. "Take it with you when you go." "Oh, I'd like to," said the wanderer wistfully as she climbed down the ladder. "But it's not the way for me." And she settled her hat and she marched off down the gravel path. The old woman rushed to the gate to look after her. But where are you going?" she cried, for she had lived alone in the one house all of her days. "Away," said the wanderer without looking back. "I just want to see." And she pointed down the road toward the blue and distant mountains. And strangely, the old woman knew just what she meant. The old woman had never seen the mountains or the sea. She hobbled after her, but the stones hurt her bunions, and the wanderer was already far ahead. And at last the old woman turned back. "Drip, drop, at least I've got my bones," she sighed, and she cast her eye about. "Bones," she called. "Bones!" She whistled and she clapped. "Bones!" A smart smack of water landed on her forehead, firm as a kiss. "Why, you," she said, and then she looked up, then farther up, then farther still. My gosh. There was Bones, swimming high. He was up where the sun rode, up where the swallows fooled around in the spray. "Oh, for shame," she scolded the wave, but the wave stood like a statue as tall as the sky, Bones near the top of it. "Give me back my bones," she roared to the wave, "or I'll tell the sun to dry you up, drip drop." The old woman hurried to the shed with her little key and dragged out the boat. "I'll fetch that dog home," she muttered, and she turned the boat over on her head and scurried to where the grass was always wet. There she set the boat against the side of the wave, and she rode, and she heaved, and she strained up the wave till her shoulders ached and the sweat ran off her arms. And at last, far ahead, she saw old Bones' ears against the sky. Look at his cute little ears. "Bones!" she shouted, and the dog swam back toward her, looking smug, but he let the old woman help him into the boat. "Where did you think you were going off to?" And Bones wagged his wet tail. I love this part because when you lose your dog even for a minute, it's just like the end of the world, and she finally got him in the boat, and look how happy they are. The old woman wiped her face, and she and the dog rested at the top of the wave, which murmured and sighed underneath them. The sun soothed her tired shoulders. Lights danced on the wave around her, and the blue sky was close enough to touch, and the mountains just a splash and a plunge away. She looked down at her house, stuck all over with umbrellas. And suddenly the old woman laughed. What a silly thing I am. And Bones wagged his tail again, boom, 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 on the side of the wash tub. wave, the old woman said, finally pleased with herself. I see. But slowly now. And the wave shimmered and a ripple went through it. Then the wave lay down on the land. Everything began to ripple and flow. The wave became a river, surging and plunging, swirling and curling and flowing away, but never upsetting the boat in which Bones and the old woman rowed. Running after her, the man from down the road cried, But where are you going? Away, shouted the old woman. She didn't look back. She looked straight ahead at the mountains and the waves that carried her toward them. It always makes me cry. And I think it makes me sad because change is hard. It's hard for everybody. Love is powerful, and it's all going to be good in the end. All right, thanks for joining me. I hope you didn't cry too much. I just cried a little. And I'm going to do some more books. So thanks. See you later.